Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons, while drinking an old-fashioned. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button now. Platforms other than YouTube tend to block some of our content. Subscribe now to get up-to-date videos and shorts as they release. Now, enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old-fashioned. I'm Brian.
And I'm Russ.
Russ, as folks that follow this video, they'll see the thumbnail that's titled Mason that Donates Millions. But before we get into the millions of dollars that our guest has been part of with donating, I guess he needs an introduction. So, Russ, do this for me.
As every time we start this podcast, we just simply introduce the man. We have our dear brother, Bob Shively.
Welcome.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, have you watched any of the episodes?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So you know that we don't do any gotchas. So what we do on every podcast, before we talk about the millions of dollars that you've been part of donating, we want to know who's Bob Shively, the man, not the Mason, just the man first. We'll get into the rest.
Okay.
And folks, it's early, so we're drinking some not old fashions just to kick our day off. So judge if you shall.
Well, I'm a happily married man. I've been together with my beautiful wife we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year.
50 years. That's
50
awesome.
years, yes. And so we're excited about that. From a career standpoint...
And her name is?
Pardon me?
Her name?
Candy.
Yes, he just saved you a dress.
Yeah, that's right.
This
Thank
is what
you
we
very
do.
much. From a career standpoint, I basically have two careers. I've had two careers. I worked in the corporate world for about half of my career. I'd worked for Chrysler Corporation and Ford Motor Company in marketing. And then I got the other half of the career was in association foundation management, working for two international associations and also ran their foundations.
All right.
How did you make that switch? What led you to...
How and why, yeah.
Okay. My wife and I did not have children, and I was at that time in Detroit. And my mom and dad were not doing well, and they lived in Kansas City.
Okay.
And so my wife and I talked about it, and I decided to make a career change so I could come back to where I was born and raised in Kansas City, and be with my parents toward the end of their life. And so I never regret that, and sincerely appreciate my wife's support in doing that.
So you've lived around the Kansas City area then for how long?
So been back?
Yeah.
So I've been back probably now for about 25 years.
Okay.
So been back for a while.
Okay.
So walk us through now your Masonic journey. So from the beginning, how did it start to what's going on today?
So I was before coming to the opportunity with the Kansas Masonic Foundation, I was CEO of the National Auctioneers Association, and their offices were located in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And I was looking to get back to the Topeka area, and so I saw the opportunity for the executive director for the Kansas Masonic Foundation. I was not a Mason at that time. My father was a Mason. I'm not sure I knew what that meant, but he was a proud Mason. I was the youngest of 5 boys, but he never talked about being a Mason. He never encouraged us to look at that, which I today now find a little curious. My oldest brother did join demise, but it was not because of my father. He did it because of some friends at that time were in demise, and so he joined that. But as I became a Mason after my dad passed away, And so I really never did get to ask him a lot about it. But I do know he was a proud Mason. He had, it's interesting, he had a Masonic ring, and but not a wedding ring. And he wore that all the time. And I learned that a dues-paying member of Wyandotte Lodge in Kansas City, Kansas, until his death. But it was kind of curious. So I went in for I tell this story because I think it's kind of interesting. I went in to the interview, and I didn't know a lot about Masons. I actually got on the internet like a lot of people do, and you find a lot of things on there. As a matter of fact, when I told my wife that I was going to go in and interview for this position, she went on the internet and looked too. And she says, "You sure you want to be a part of an organization like that?" So again, that's what a lot of people see. Yeah. You can see what you want, but there is obviously a lot of negative things about the Masonry on the internet.
Sure.
But I said, sure, yeah, I want to go in, and so I went in for the interview, and we talked a little bit about it, and I shared with them a little bit about myself, obviously, and one of the things that I said in the interview, which really today, as you look back at it, I'm surprised I even got the job, is I told the committee at that time, I said, it's interesting to me that I've traveled the world and the number of business meetings that I've been in, and I know one Mason, and that's my dad. And they laughed, and at the time I recall that, and I won't tell you who the interview team was, but they said, well, that's kind of how this works, and you have to, seek us out and to become a Mason. And I said,
they were alluding to be one asked one.
Right, to be one. I said, well,
how's that working for us?
How's that working?
I think that may be antiquated today. I said, I've worked in 2 large organizations that I've run, and I've obviously been focused as part of each of those organizations in membership. And I said, it's going to be an issue if we're not more out there in front of folks. And so, I was really surprised I got the job, because I basically said, I don't believe in that philosophy to be one ask one.
Right.
Do you think that there were members on that committee that actually agreed wholeheartely,
but didn't say it out loud too?
Well, I don't know. I had one Grand Master on there.
We know who was on that committee, and you know what? You boys made the right choice for lots of reasons. So you became a Master Mason.
Yes, I did. That was one of the things that, and I wasn't necessarily required to become a Master Mason.
Yeah.
But it was always my position, and wherever I did, even when I was in the other 2 organizations, I became active in the job that they did. Because
if you're going to do it, get into it.
You do. You got to know it.
Yeah, you have to be able to talk. So, Master Mason. Now you joined some other bodies.
Yes, I did. I had immediately pretty much joined Scottish Rite.
Okay.
And I joined the Shrine and York Rite. And finally, I'd say in the last 5 years, joined Eastern Star.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So you've been a Mason for 10 years now, because you came in 2013.
Yes.
Okay, so in November. So you just, a few months ago, you hit your 10 years. So what's the one thing, because there's a lot, in 10 years, because we've been in longer, in 10 years, what's the one thing that you've seen change the most in 10 years?
In Kansas Freemasonry?
This year, you can answer it the way you want.
Well, one of the fundamental changes that I think the foundation has made, and with the support of a great board, is that we've made the lodges the center of our universe. So it's really not about the Kansas Masonic Foundation. It's really about our lodges. If we can get our lodges more visible within the community, then I believe that Freemasonry will grow.
Is that needle moving? It's never moving fast enough.
It isn't, and it's. I'll be honest with you. It's a struggle to get our lodges more active and involved in the community. We did this study, and actually we've done it twice now. We hired organization out of California, Q&A Research, one of the top ones in the country, to come in and study Freemasonry in Kansas, to talk to and go out and do a survey for us. And there's a couple key statistics that came out of that we've been focused on from a foundation perspective really since day one, because that's one of the first things that I talked to the board about doing this study. And but the two statistics that came out is the first one, and intuitively we already knew that, but it helped to confirm it, is that 92% of the general public is unaware of who we are or what we do. 92% of Kansans have no clue who we are or what we do. The second statistic that goes hand in hand with that is that 83% of young men 21 years and older, the most important part of joining an organization like ours is that organization does good in the community.
Yep.
Now, if 92% don't know what we do, how are we ever going to persuade those young men today to consider the possibility of Freemasonry?
So I agree with that. If you on some episodes before this, there's an episode we did on generational communication, and one of the things that the younger generations say and report on their surveys is if they join X group, wherever they want to dedicate their time, which is their commodity, they're young, they don't have the resources, that they want to be part of something that is bigger than them and adds value. So that's across the boards too. Yep. So that I think that study is still current because the data from that was 2023 data.
Right.
So and yours might have been 4 or 5 years old at the time, right? Fair.
Right. So what we've done from a foundation perspective is all of the program development that we've done, we've pushed down to the lodges, because I really believe, as I travel around, and I travel extensively throughout the state, and I often say that I've been to every one of the 170 lodges that we have in the state, many of them multiple times, and I see how they operate. And there's too many of our lodges today still that go to their meetings twice a month, and that's it. And the community never sees them. They don't even really know who they are. So we tried to push our brothers to get out in the community. That's one of the reasons we started the raffle program. I mean, that's not a fundraiser. That's not a money maker for the foundation. Right. So we got a car, and we started this year with a gun raffle because we want to educate the public in that community as our lodges go out and talk to them about participating in the raffle. That 75% of the money that they use in that raffle stays right there in the community to do good charitable work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to the point that we've even, when we do scholarships, when we do matching funds, when we do any of those programs, we send the money to the lodge, and the lodge presents a check from the lodge, not from the Kansas Masonic Foundation. Right. If we can get them out in the community and people understand the good work they're doing, remember what that 83% of those young men said.
Yeah.
If we can get them out there to show them what we're doing, I believe we can grow Freemasonry.
Yeah, very much so. Let's switch gears for a minute. You are a busy guy. 170 lodges you visit over and over. You honor men for their giving. You do things, and so your job requires you to travel a lot, and you're a busy guy. One of these days, you're going to be a little less busy. You might decide to retire one of these days. You never know. And so within Masonry, is there a body of Masonry that you would like to be more active in? Is there something that you go, you know what, when I slow down a little bit, I want to do that?
Well, I look at it, and obviously I'm involved in a number of the different bodies, but I can see myself being more involved in the shrine.
Makes sense.
When I retire.
Makes sense.
Obviously the shrine does some great things and great work in helping kids throughout the world, and I could see getting more involved, and I can see helping them from even a local level and I've talked to my, in my temple, I said, I'd like to be more involved in the fundraising because I think I can raise more money for the shrine, Arab shrine. And but obviously it's a conflict of interest today for me to go in and start doing fundraising for them and doing that.
So let's talk about Arab. So if you were the potentate of Arab shrine today, boom, you're the potentate. What would be your number one goal? Number one goal. Is it fundraising? Is it membership? Is it sell buildings? Is it clean up the image? What's your number one goal?
I would say that probably get in there and from a fundraising perspective to build a good solid foundation, a financial foundation. Not that we're hurting today, but as our numbers continue to decline, if we don't do anything about that, we're going to find ourselves in all the temples and the Scottish Rite and all of them we're going to be struggling for financially. And it's going to affect our building. It's going to affect our members. And I just think we need to build. We need to be looking at that. Unless we can figure out that silver bullet to grow Freemasonry, and I think there's opportunity to do that. But that's a whole different discussion.
Right.
I'm going to back you up. He talked about the shrine. What if you were a master of a lodge today? What would you do? What would be most important to you as a master of a lodge? Is it the same thing, or is it a little different than if
It would probably be twofold. I would focus on financially seeing what we can do, depending on the. We've got some lodges that are financially strong, but that's the exception versus the rule. Mm-hmm. But I think my focus would be growth. I would take a whole different strategy as we do today. I may not be a master very long, but from Grand Lodge if I got in there. But I would focus on growth of the lodge, and that's something I don't think we do today, for the most part.
Okay.
So going back to the shrine, if you were asked to be on the line of Arab shrine, would you? Is that something you would like to do?
You got to be asked before you can be the potentate.
That's right. Well, I would not today until I'm done. I'm busy.
You're busy.
And I want to devote 100% of my energy to the Kansas Masonic Foundation.
I like it. Our Arab listeners, he didn't say no. Pay attention. All right, so let's talk about this. You and your team have donated millions of dollars throughout Kansas. Okay. So far, who's been the largest benefactor? Okay, this is twofold. I'll argue the lodges have been the largest benefactor with the car raffles and all that. So let's push that to side. Okay, because what the Kansas Masonic Foundation has done for the lodges in Kansas, nobody's done it. I'll debate. Come on the show and debate us if you want to argue that. They've tried this, that, and the other, but they put more money. They probably allowed lodges to stay open longer in some cases, maybe than they should. However, the Kansas Masonic Foundation has helped lodges more than any organization. But let's push that to the side. Other than the lodges, who's been the number one benefactor in the state of Kansas from the Masonic Foundation?
Well, obviously, the largest benefactor and the greatest charity that we've been involved with is cancer research.
Okay.
And Kansas Masons have contributed over $35 million to cancer research.
$35 million to cancer research in Kansas.
And it doesn't. There's always something. I mean, 2 years ago we funded a mobile cancer screening bus. This year we're funding $500,000 for a mammogram unit that will go on that screening bus that's going around, so that we can we can obviously that's a real need. So we continue to do it. But I'll tell you, I believe that probably one of the most important things that we've done in the foundation since I've been there is we created a program called KMF Charities that has given money to our lodges. It's matching. We want to make sure that they're out there and they're involved. But we match dollar for dollar up to $2,500. So a lodge can give $5,000 to a charitable organization within their community. And that has continued to grow. Not as fast as I'd like. We still have almost a third of our lodges that don't participate in that, and it's been 10 years. Now think about that.
It's crazy to me. It's fascinating.
But so they can, and they don't have to take the full $2,500. They can take $100 or $200, and they can do multiple things. Mm-hmm. But the beneficiary is our Kansas communities.
So I'm going to interrupt. So let me, for those who aren't paying attention to what he's putting down here, lodges aren't engaging in their community. So Bob and the team said, you know what? Let's prime the pump. We're going to allow you to donate to something in your community. And if you want to donate $2,500, we'll match $2,500. You want to donate $1,000, we'll match $1,000. But we've got lodges in communities. Folks, there's nothing's free, right? But there is free money out there. Mm-hmm. And we, you, us, the collective thumbs back this way, are not doing our job as Masons. Think about your obligation. Sorry, I had to get on my soapbox. I hadn't done that yet today. But forgive my language on this, but we're kind of shit in the bed on that.
Wholeheartedly.
I mean, it's awful. We have arguably one of the best tools in our toolbox, and we're choosing not to use it for some reason. If you're a lodge in Kansas, don't post your lodge name. Send us an email and help me understand why you wouldn't use those resources, because I can't wrap my head around it. At our lodge, it's almost a fight. It's like, who gets it?
Yeah.
You know, and so that should be the mentality. And you may say, well, we don't have $2,500 to give away. Well, first of all, you can pass the hat. If it's $300, it didn't say you have to give $2,500 up to. If you can do $300, Bob and his team will give you $300.
Well, and start with $100.
Well, yeah, start with
that's why we created the raffle.
Yep.
I mean, go out and sell a few raffle tickets.
You're funding them to double their money.
Yes. And that money, so for every $100 in raffle tickets that you sell, you're getting 75. We've sent, since we started this program 6 years ago on the raffle program, we've returned over $2 million back to the lodges. Take that money or some of that money and use it for the matching funds within the community.
Masons, we're dum-dums sometimes. We're just kind of dumb. We get in the way of ourselves. I would argue this is two problems in Masonry, dudes and egos. Somewhere around the line, it's got to be an ego, because you can't convince me why you wouldn't want to take Bob's money.
No.
Right? So, Russ?
Fair enough. Let's get back to the personal side. You said you have four brothers?
4 older brothers.
4 older brothers.
2 have passed away.
Okay. Were any of those brothers Masons?
No.
So you are the only Mason in the family?
That's correct.
Okay. So if your father was still alive today and you're a Mason and you two were sitting talking about Masonry, what one question would you have loved to ask your dad that you didn't, because you weren't Masons at the same time, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what would that discussion be?
It's a simple question.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me about Freemasonry?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me about Freemasonry? And I've always said that I wish, I've been a Mason now for 10 years. I wish I would have known about Masonry when I was 20 years old. I really do. And so my dad never told me about it. And I'd like to know why he never told me about it. And I never asked about it because I didn't know a whole lot about it. To be honest with you, he didn't make a big deal out of it. He did go to lodge and he did things, but I never really thought much about it. And I've talked to my older brothers, and I said, "Did you guys ever question or ask Dad about Freemasonry?" And he said, "No, it's just something that never came up. He never talked about it." Look at that opportunity. I know that there would be 4 more Masons today if my dad would have talked about it. If somebody would have talked to me about Freemasonry.
And then that compounds. So you've got 4 more Masons, and if nieces and nephews, then cousins, and children, there's just so many generations got missed, and it's perplexing to me. I would like to know that too. I mean, if we had did the whole "what's your superpower," I'd like to go back and say, Is it because we had so many damn members and we're like, we're good, we don't need it? I mean, what did we get complacent and that's what caused problems? But anyway, don't let me get on a rant. So let's go back to Blue Lodge. Okay?
Yeah.
We asked this question. So it's a would you rather, not a bird would you rather because those are awful. So a would you rather. You can only have one or the other. A lodge full master to Tyler, all proficiency card holders, or a lodge full master to Tyler of all inspirational and dynamic leaders. What must the lodge have?
That's an easy one.
Well, let's see.
Inspirational. I mean, first of all, and I can speak to this because I try. A lot of times I go to lodge and they don't know I'm coming because I don't want them to know I'm coming. I don't want any
pageantry.
Yeah, I really don't. I just want to show up and I want to see it in its real form. And in a lot of situations, it's not pretty. A lot of situations, we don't open up. We sit around and have coffee, and that's okay. That's okay.
So those who are watching, just back up like 3 seconds. You saw Russ damn near dry heave over that. So because I tried to mask mine a little bit.
And one of the things that I've committed to the lodges is I don't go back and tell Grand Lodge, hey, you got to do it. Let me tell you what's going on.
It's not your role.
I know that. No, it's not my role. And if they want to find out, they can get out and travel themselves. And but the proficiency is obviously. It is an issue for Grand Lodge.
Yep.
But it's a real thing that I can tell you, I can honestly say 85% of our lodges have a difficult time opening up.
Sure. And I think the real answer is a blend, because you need this, that, and the other. You need the inspirational people to get them in and to motivate them to do X, but you also need a proficiency to teach the ritual the right way. Right. But folks, there's ways to solve that problem. To make really nice proficiency, clean degree work, unified. But I digress yet again because this is what I do. Russ?
So, Brian prepares these questions, and so sometimes I just, I find them fascinating, which ones he gets to choose to ask and then which ones I get to choose to ask. So,
right.
So any aspirations to be on the Grand Line in Kansas?
And I thought about that early on, and I felt that if there was an opportunity to make an impact, I'm a change agent. In every job that I've done, I've gone into that job, and I've never been satisfied with the status quo. And I don't think today, but first of all, I think there are much better people out there than myself that can add value to improving Grand Lodge and growing Grand Lodge and Freemasonry in Kansas. And I'm there to support them. But I'm too much of a change agent for Grand Lodge.
Fair.
And that's not something they seek today.
Yeah, it's a slower, it's a bigger ship, so it's slower moving on the turn. It's not the speedboats, so I can see why you'd kind of take that perspective. Makes sense. So you've dealt with a lot of potentates in the last 10 years. Okay?
I'm sorry?
You've dealt with a lot of potentates.
I have.
So in the last 10 years, what potentate in Kansas do you think moved the needle the most? It's all right. We call out people all the time. For good, not for bad. For good.
Well, I don't know that I could single out a potentate that I think that moved the needle or did something that was. I think they all work hard to within the shrine to grow it and to make it successful. So I don't know that I'd want to say that there's one particular potentate. I obviously have a great deal of respect for Most Worshipful Jeff Souter, and also for Brad King as the Imperial Treasurer. I mean, when I see the work that they do,
thankless work.
It is. I see the work that they do in support of the shrine. It's amazing. Those two individuals work hard to make an impact in the shrine world, and I applaud them. I have a lot of admiration.
Both great guys. Both great guys.
Well, let's sort of wrap this up real quick with talking about the Kansas Masonic Foundation a little bit more, and what's going on, what's new, what's exciting, what do we have to look forward to coming into?
Well, we're continuing to look at new programs, and again, thinking about our lodges. One program that we just launched and are partnered with within the last 2 years is the Next Gen Under 30, and to me, that is an outstanding program that focuses on educating those under 30 about who we are and what we do. As title sponsor for that program, it gives us access to, well, in the last 2 years, there's been a little over 600 winners that we've had an opportunity to be in front of and to talk to and to educate, to move that needle of 92% of they don't know who we are or what we do. So it's really an education process. So that is I think an excellent program to do it. And we have a new program, and I probably shouldn't be talking about it, but I'm pretty comfortable that we're going to be going in that direction, that within the next year, we're looking at a program right now that goes a step further in helping our lodges get active and involved in the community. And it's called a Lodge Grant Program. And what we're looking to do is to provide grant money, not matching money, grant money to our lodges that they can go within their community and visit with them to support those charitable entities within their community, and we'll provide grant money for that lodge, not from the Kansas Masonic Foundation, but from the lodge, to support those various efforts. We've in the past, and part of the 50th anniversary, we selected some different programs. We had the entrepreneurship program, which did an outstanding job. We had the Pride program, we had the Literacy Center, and we did these, and we tried to involve the lodges. And as we sit back and looked at it, all the programs did extremely well. But we said, what if we took that money and we said, here, Albert Pike, where do you want to put that money in your community? Yeah. And then maybe you would be more vested in what happens to that particular program if it's your money going into that program.
And we're talking real dollars. We're not talking just...
Yeah, we're talking real dollars.
We're talking real dollars.
I don't want to get into the numbers
we don't
right now because the board has...
So for those who don't know about the Kansas Masonic Foundation, what is the website for the Kansas Masonic Foundation?
KansasMasonic.Foundation.
KansasMasonic.Foundation. Look across the bottom. Listen, there's tons of stuff that the foundation is doing. We'll put links in the description, links in the comment.
And if you want to see what other Masonic lodges are doing in Kansas, that's where you go, because you see the dollars going out.
It's real. It's transparent. So, as you know, we end the podcast with what we call the most important question of the podcast. Okay. So, the Kansas Masonic Foundation has been part of donating a lot of cards over the years. Okay.
Okay.
So, on the screen, you're going to see 4 cards. You're going to see a Barracuda. I don't care what year. Chevelle, probably 67. A Corvette, doesn't matter what year. And a Mustang, I think it should be the Eleanor, but that's just me. One has to go forever. It was never, now you're from Detroit, so you know vehicles. You lived in Detroit. So, you know vehicles. Which of them has to go to the scrapyard and get crushed and it turns into be a Diet Coke can later? Which car has to go forever? It was never created.
Wow. Those are 4 beautiful cars.
Those are 4
You sure you have to make a choice?
Yeah, you know, life's all about choices.
I was shown a picture just the other day, so that's going to alter my choice.
Okay, so I have an opinion, so it'll be interesting.
Okay, so
What goes forever?
I'm gonna go with the Chevelle. Goes away.
Forever?
Yeah.
Oh wow, Russ. Well, what?
And that's the one we're doing this year.
Oh, I know.
I'm in trouble.
Yes. Wow.
Mine's easy.
So, one of my dear friends, he's a little older, and Chevelles are the thing, and so I can't get rid of that.
Nope.
That Barracuda, because it's purple. K-State fan. I've got to keep.
I get rid of the
I
Barracuda.
like Corvettes, but that Mustang down there, just crush it.
You like?
My first car was a Mustang, though. How can I crush it?
Hold
Crush the
on.
Mustang.
I know exactly why Russ did this now. So
I love Mustangs.
that's a conversation we're going to
Now
talk
I'm gonna
about later.
crush it.
Now I understand. It just registered why Mr. Brown did that. So we're a mixed bag of nuts here, as you would be. A Barracuda for me, Chevelle's out, and then Russ is being a turd. He doesn't believe it's the Mustang, but that we're going to stick with that answer. Thanks for watching the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. Bob, thank you.
Thank you.
for coming in.
everything
Thanks for the
you
great
do
work
for
you guys
Kansas
do.
Mason.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What did you think of this episode? To continue to promote Freemasonry, hit that like button now. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and give us a comment. The Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where real Masons talk Freemasonry. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a comment.